Why do you want to study medicine? Hi everyone, my name's Em and I'm a second year medical student studying in Melbourne, Australia. I am passionate about empowering women to embark on careers in science, medicine, technology, and I'm so keen to share with you my passion for these areas in videos to come. But for now, let's talk about why you want to do medicine. This is probably one of the most feared questions of the medical school interview because it asks you to distill who you really are. And if you're applying to a medical school that uses an MMI format, you have to lay out a genuine, succinct, thoughtful summary of how you got into this interview seat, all in the space of a few minutes. If you're thinking about applying to medicine and going through the application process, the why do you want to do medicine question is an important one, but probably not for the reasons that you think. In this video, I'm going to share what my answers were in my medical school interviews and the mistakes I made when initially tackling this question. At the end of this video, I'm going to share what my answer would be now 2 years into medical school. Okay, let's get into it. Many people think that this question is how we distinguish between a great future doctor and someone who's in this industry or in this application process for the wrong reasons. I would argue that yes, it's important to have a reasonable answer ready for the interview to demonstrate your well-rounded and grounded thinking. But I also think it's a little bit silly to expect someone who's never been a doctor to know exactly what being a doctor will mean for them and their life. If you, like me, had very little experience and exposure in medicine before applying to med school, your answer to this question will not be an accurate representation of why you will want to be a doctor when you've been studying months for your final exams and thinking this is nothing like what Dr. McDreamy promised me. Thinking back to the answer that I gave in my medical school interviews for why I wanted to be a doctor versus why I want to be a doctor today, they could not be more different. I had pretty much no idea about what medicine would actually be like, the doors that would open, the role of a doctor in a multidisciplinary team, and the complexities of healthcare today. So the initial answer that I gave for why do you want to study medicine went something like this. I actually spent most of my life wanting to do aerospace engineering and wait for it, actually go to space. I wanted to be an astronaut. Throughout high school and even into my first years of undergraduate uni, I was and still am captivated by the vastness of the universe and the physical laws that govern it. I have always felt dizzyingly humbled by the endlessness of the cosmos, the philosophical questions it poses on us, and the elegance of the mathematical thinking that the human brain could come up with to answer them. It wasn't until I read the fantastic book Mapping the Mind by Rita Carter that I realized that similar complexities and unanswered questions could be found within each and every one of us. Suddenly, medicine and in particular neuroscience boggled my mind in the same way astrophysics does, but with much more tangible and personal implications for myself and the bundles of cells that I call my family and friends. So I want to study medicine because I'm excited about what there is left to discover about the human body and the people that will directly benefit from its study. Okay, so as you can see, this was a pretty waffly, dreamy answer. And I mean, fair enough, I was using abstract terms to describe why I wanted to embark on a profession that I had never had exposure to before. This wasn't a terrible way of going about answering. I told the detailed truth, which makes my story unique to me and avoids cliches such as I love science and I love helping people. When I first sat down to whip up my answer for this question, these cliches were actually the first answers I clung onto. I was quite apprehensive about how my real answer would go down, which basically outlined why I hadn't wanted to study medicine for most of my life. But here is the thing. The medical school interviewers care less about you having the most perfect, visionary, mind-blowing, selfless reason for studying medicine and becoming a doctor, and care more about why your unique story will be something that keeps you going through medical school and through being a doctor when the going gets really tough, because it will. So that answer that I gave is still the story of how I got here. But with 2 years of the MD under my belt, I have 3 important discoveries to add. I now also want to be a doctor because of 1, the doors that medicine opens opens into the research and tech industries. I am fascinated by the innovations that the medtech industry has pumped out over the years, particularly in the space of neuroscience and biotechnologies that are being developed to optimize the brain function of patients who have suffered devastating brain injuries, including a company called Synchron, which is based in Melbourne, Neuralink, which is Elon Musk's company. These are all areas that I would love to get into in the future, and I think that the medical degree is a really good stepping stone to get there. Number 2, the opportunities for combining my career in medicine with my hobbies and passions. There are some really cool initiatives like surfing doctors, wilderness medicine, as well as areas in design, public health, education, coding in medtech. These are really exciting spaces that I think medicine also gives you really good access to. Number 3, being forced to learn to think in a new way and putting myself out of my comfort zone. Despite popular belief, medicine is not all about memorizing as many facts as you can and regurgitating them on command. It's actually so much more than that. It's about seeing all these moving parts in a person's life and all the components that make up who they are and what is driving their illness. Having this privilege of intimate insight into someone's life also enables us to zoom out and see patterns across systems and populations of people that lead us towards identifying bigger scale problems in the healthcare system which medtech and research are out to solve. I would love to hear what your answers are to the why do you want to study medicine question, so please comment them below and like and subscribe.